What does being a superhero mean to Snowball? Everything. There is nothing else. You're looking at a will, a want, and a need. Snowball needs the feeling that comes with being associated with being a superhero. My favorite quality of Snowball is the ability to backpedal. I love his ability to go backwards, you know. Yeah, look, everybody, we're gonna go out at noon. Why? That's stupid. Yeah, well, I knew that. We're gonna 11:30 is better anyway. Let's do it. Like he has an amazing ability to just backpedal and ramble his way out of certain things. Well, I think what makes Snowball so much fun to play is that there's always a high level of discovery within a character. And I credit the directors, the creators, the writers, everybody involved for letting me bring as much to the character as I possibly could. And I think, you know, to date, when I get in that booth, there's never been a hand put in front of me to say stop and not to find and not to push to get more and create more. And when you have that around you, you're constantly evolving. So in this one, you know, Snowball's ability to just want to be tough and want to be this superhero and really define what a superhero is a want and need, but the actions don't back up the want and need. And the people around him are just like, they're just dealing with it, and he knows it's not happening. So it's like, you know, it's fine. You know, you don't have to jump all the time. Sometimes it's cool to just a stumble here and there is okay. Like he's making up for the wrong with just confidence. The feeling that Snowball gets from his owner is one of love and compassion. And regardless of what you see on the outside, that's what he loves, that's what he wants. So that camaraderie, that high level of emotion and friendship, that bond that they have, that's where the bulk of his time goes. And outside of that, his imagination runs wild, you know? That's when he's able to do the things that he feels he needs to do and run the world. I think the thing that makes this film stand out outside of the first one is just the progression. You know, you're seeing characters progress. And that's what you want in anything. You know, you want to see characters grow and the families, the kids, you know, and adults that saw part one. They got to see a world that I think we all were very curious about on a different level of thinking. And that was just what happens in your household when you leave? What do your pets do? And after those questions are answered, to see more questions get answered. Not only what they do, but how far do they go to protect what they truly believe in, you know? How much do they value what's considered to be their homes, their families, their owners, their friends, and what levels are they willing to go through to protect those things?
I think in the first film, Gidget was just, she just wasn't as involved in her world. You know, she was really, really a domesticated pet. And then she got out to see the world and had some real adventures and had some real proof of her strength and of her ability to really use her heart and be courageous. And I think this time around, she's just as dedicated to her love of Max and is just as sort of like much of a go-getter, but she's also way more dedicated to herself, which is nice to see. I think in this movie that Gidget's impersonation of a cat is almost better than cats themselves. So yes, I think she nailed it. I think she took it to another level. I think all cats should be dogs in disguise. Oh, I love playing Gidget, and I have from the very beginning. She has a bit more electricity in her voice than I have. I'm like maybe a little bit smoother, and I'm not as outwardly sure of myself as Gidget is. So it feels really good to be that. And I've also got to say it. Yeah, she's really a part of me. I know how to react as Gidget, and it's very gratifying to add to the entertainment and be able to improvise as Gidget. Yeah. Her attitude is she just is without any pretense. She's not stuck up. She can't hide anything, but she has so much to say. So she's really on full blast all the time. And trying to watch her adjust into being a cat made me love her twice as much. She's just so earnest without being a sappy, saccharine character.
Liam just means a thing that he has to protect. He's his little buddy. He's his little friend, and he is this. He's an example of the best that humanity has to offer as far as Max has seen so far. So he's got to protect that. Well, Max has definitely opened up to the possibility that some humans could be really cool, and so that's kind of helped him grow. But then, of course, it's also made him very, very protective of the one human he likes. My favorite part of Max's personality is how he takes things 1,000% more serious than they need to be taken, which is really fun to play comedically. Of all the pets in the movie that I would want for my own, I mean, I think Max is really sweet, and it'd be good to get a dog and show him that life can be mellow. So, I worry about that little guy. I'd want to take Max and then try to chill him out.
Chloe is a cat, and she has a very lackadaisical, aka lazy, kind of way about her. But that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just she's robust and voluptuous, and she has a lot of love to give with her furry softness. And I think that requires also a lot of meals. And so she needs to continually be looking and hunting for meals in a very low energy way. Oh, Max, Dude, Gidget, Daisy, these guys, Chloe is, this is her, these are her homies, you know what I mean? Like, this is her team. And so I think that she does have a great respect. She might not admit it right away, but she loves deep down these teammates of hers. Look, I'm partial to Chloe. I don't have cats. I've come to know her, and I feel like we have in common that we're both very independent, so maybe we could just kind of coexist pretty well. She does her thing, I do my thing. No asking questions. It's like, so I've become very close to her. My kids love her, you know what I mean? It's like they see the Chloe paraphernalia everywhere, and then they see, my daughter thinks that every day when I go to work, if I say, even if I'm working on something else, she's like, oh, you're gonna have to go put your Chloe outfit on, and I'm like, oh, so I don't put a Chloe outfit on, I'm in, it's very hard to explain that my voice is inside the drawing, but she refuses to believe that and just really envisions me kind of like putting on the Chloe outfit, getting to work, and then becoming Chloe. So I'll let her live with that because I like that idea too. Recording this movie is really fun because every single time I go there to do a session, there's always at one point a moment for efforts, which is just like, ooh, and that is always my favorite part because you have to kind of create physical comedy with just your mouth, and that is always my favorite part. So sometimes I have an entire session of just efforts, and so it's just it's like that is fun.
He's learned a lot. He's been through so much. He's grown. He's in a very different place. He's in a real good place, a real happy. No, Mel is insane. Mel's a little lunatic, and he's doing all right. He's always gonna be Mel. He'll always be fine. Don't worry about Mel. Of all the pets in the movie, who would I want for my own? I mean, can I be selfish and say Mel? I mean, Harrison Ford's dog is pretty great. It's pretty great. Oh, gosh. I might take Mel. Mel's adorable. I like Mel. The recording sessions were a blast. They were a real good time. Very energetic. The creators and writers of this movie are so amazing. It's such a blast. Do I have any memories from recording? Oh, this one time I was about to record and the whole building exploded, and we all blew up, and everyone flew up like miles into the air, and we all landed in the exact same spot. Kept recording. You can hear it in the movie if you listen quietly. Superhero Snowball is pretty great. I mean, it's pretty great. I think we should have other superhero pets. I think Mel should be a superhero. I think Mel should have his own universe. I think Mel should have a series of films, the origins of why Mel is crazy. Maybe he's like a Superman thing. Maybe he's in Clark Kent form right now where he's acting crazy, but really he's like a gentleman and a scholar. Who knows? Would I hire Captain Snowball to save me? Of course. It depends how much we're talking. I'm pretty light on cash right now, but yeah, I would hire him.
When I first saw Daisy, I was like, oh, she's so cute. And then when I heard my voice coming out, I was like, I'm a dog with cute barrettes. I'm so cute. She's just a, gung-ho, take life by the teeth, or by the bone, or by the keys. She takes life, you know what I'm saying, and goes for it. She has compassion, she cares about others, and she's a hero. I think my favorite thing about Daisy is that once she gets her mind set on something, it gets done. And that's something, I don't know if I gave that to Daisy or if Daisy gave that to me, or maybe we just already had that in common as it is. I love how resourceful she is.
Rooster is a farm dog. He's the biggest dog on the farm. He's the boss of the barnyard, the boss of the farm. He keeps things in line. He gets everybody straightened out. When Max first comes to the farm, he orients him because he's a city dog. He doesn't really know much about how to be, well, frankly, about how to be a dog. Max is he's a neurotic mess, and Rooster takes pity on him and helps him straighten himself out and grow up. Well, I saw the first movie with my family, and I laughed a lot. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed the style of animation. I liked the humor. I liked the point of view. And it was, and so when I was asked, I was delighted. Nobody ever asked me before.
He takes everything serious. He has a very large sense of himself, and he's very, very frustrated with people who cannot really bow down to his brilliance. He dominates the puppies. He loves to order people around. He's a real peach. He's revealed a lot more of himself in the second film. First film, he was just barking and yelling, like that was literally most of it. And this time he has a little puppy school, and he's in charge, and he's created this diabolical plot to make these puppies do evil things by wreaking havoc on their human owners. But Pops reveals his heart of gold. So he's very soft-hearted about these puppies. He's gruff, but he's got a heart of gold. He gets up, he does his exercises. You know, he has wheels for hind legs. So he does these pop wheelies for his core, his glutes, and his deltoids. Then he does a long snout stretch and a lot of different canine open the mouth, close the mouth, open the mouth, close the mouth. Then he's exhausted. He sleeps for 2-3 hours. Then he gets up, eats a lot of food, and gets ready to sort of bark at people and emotionally dominate other animals. My favorite quality about Pops is that he's incredibly honest. So when one cute little dog says, "My name's Peaches," he says, "Nobody cares." So that's, at least you always know where you stand with Pops. So I like that about him. He's not passive aggressive. He's not sneaky that way. He'll give it to you straight down both barrels.
Luke and Liam's relationship in the movie, you know, state right at the beginning that Liam is ours. We consider him our kid, and we want him to look up to us, and we want to set good examples for him. And it's such a sweet relationship, and I think one that, you know, parents and kids are going to really see themselves in a lot. Well, the farm means so much to Duke, but first of all, it's so many smells. Oh, all the smells. And I can relate to that as me. I mean, I love when I go home to Kansas City, where I'm from. We live, you know, I live sort of in the most rural part of Kansas City, and I love all the smells, the fresh cut alfalfa, the smell of cow manure. You know, you think you don't like the smell of cow manure, but then you grow up around it and leave it, and my gosh, you can't wait to get back and just smell. Duke's more comfortable now because he knows he has a home, and you know, I think, I wouldn't say Duke is smarter yet necessarily, but I think Duke runs that perfect line of, is he smart or not smart? Because you think you can just kind of judge him and think like, well, he's kind of aloof and kind of a doof, but then, you know, he says some pretty smart things every once in a while, and you're like, wait, hold on, which one is he? Well, first of all, Duke wakes up hungry. I mean, you don't look like Duke by accident, right? You have to practice looking like that. So he wakes up, he's ready to eat, he's gonna grab some food, and then I think he likes to go outside, take a little walk, you know, around the block, not too far. You know, there's no need to go too far. And I don't think Duke needs to necessarily go on a different path every day. I think he's content because I think he's friendly. I think he wants to see the same store clerk. He wants to see the same people along his walk to say hi, catch up, how was the night? You know, things like that. Come back, take a nap, and then, you know, hopefully create some mischief on his own with one of his balls or one of his toys. I would imagine Duke is very good at entertaining himself, but I think a lot of Duke's day consists of napping and eating. I mean, honestly. And can you think of a better day? I can't. My favorite quality of Duke is his earnestness and his immediate like and love of other people, and his trust in other humans. So I think Duke is sort of a little bit of an innocent, and I love that about him. I have a blast doing the recording sessions. I love it. You know, as an actor coming up through the business, I always aspired to get into this world. I always wanted to do it and try it. I took classes and animation classes and voiceover classes. It's a dream come true to be able to do it, to be honest with you. You know, you just roll in, you do a little vocal warm-ups, you say hi to everybody and look at pictures. Probably one of my favorite things is when the first time I ever went in for the first Secret Life of Pets is when they had the art out there for me on the music stands just to look at and sort of help inspire me and get into the feeling of it, because I'm seeing things really for the first time. So that's a very great memory, you know, for me, that first one. But I just love it. It's freeing, it's expressive, it's fun, and honestly couldn't think of a better job than doing voiceover like that.
So Sergei is, I guess, a villain. Some might call him a villain. I wouldn't call him a villain. I would call him a man who has very clear needs and wants. And in this case, he wants Hu, the white tiger, and he captures Hu and then spends the majority of the movie holding on to him and fighting off all the other pets as they try to rescue Hu back. So Sergei is not a good guy. I enjoy playing a villain. It's there, you know, every movie has one. So I get a kick out of it. And in this case, I specifically like playing Sergei because Sergei also has his little monkey sidekick, little Sergei, who I am very excited for the world to get to know as well. I do some vocal exercises, which really just entails a lot of breathing and warming up the voice, because it is a little taxing. There's a lot of screaming. There's a lot in these movies, especially when you're the bad guy. There's a lot of screaming and, pointing. There's a lot of screaming, and there's a good amount of fighting, and then there are a lot of effort noises. People don't think about that, but when you do these movies, there's a lot of like, ha, oh, ooh, ah, ah, as this grown man fights adorable pets. I really like working with Chris, and in general, having worked with Illumination now for the second time, they really try to bring in people with strong comedic voices and strong comedic instincts. They allowed me to improvise, to add things here and there, to bring my own sort of flair to not only the voice, but also the lines themselves. And I find that to be incredibly helpful and useful to give the characters lives. You're not acting on camera, so you are counting on your voice to do a lot of the work.
What we needed Rooster to be was this kind of an archetype and he needed to be a counterpoint as well to Max. Seeing the world, as I was saying before about perception, he sees the world in a different way than Max does, and has something to teach Max. So I think with Harrison's voice, with that weight behind it, he's the kind of teacher you're going to listen to, particularly if you're Max, which I think is good. And I think the minute he shows up, and in animation, what we did is there's not a lot of except when there's something dangerous or scary going on, but there's not a lot of there's no wasted movement with the character of Rooster. He's very, he moves in a straight line. His brow is always very straight, and in fact, that's why I define his design as he's a dog with a square jaw, and he's all angles, which is a nice counterpoint to Max, who's a little kind of nervous dog, and when he shows up on the farm, he's wearing a medical cone. So he's a complete contrast to Rooster, who's super cool with his bandana, and here's this little city dog wearing a cone that his therapist gave him. So again, it's part of that too. Patton's voice against Harrison, the contrast there, because Patton, with his voice being a little higher, again, that nervous laugh that he can put in there, it's a nice contrast to the gravel and the grit and the strength of Harrison's voice as the character Rooster. Where we immediately went to, my discussions with Brian and Chris Meledandri was the idea of pets and kids as kind of the theme that would hold the movie together. And I think that's a bit of a fraught relationship, actually, when you have little children and you have a pet. And sometimes people have a pet, the dog first, and then they have a baby. How that relationship evolves, because the dog is suddenly like, hey, what happened to me? I was number one. And then this baby comes along and changes the whole dynamic. And it can be, I think for animals, it can be a very difficult experience because, again, babies don't know what they're doing, so they can be very kind of, pull the ears or the tail. But seeing that relationship evolve into love, and I think, which is very sweet and tender. Snowball's this character is a bit deluded, maybe has an inflated view of himself, all ego. And, Tiffany's character, Daisy, can offset that with like some attitude, like, okay, just calm down, and she delivers that great. So it's a great kind of, she actually comes to Snowball for help, so she needs him, but she also has this great ability to kind of keep him in line, and she's a strong character herself. Patton does this great thing as part of the performance, which is a nervous laugh. And it's a great element to the, it's like, oh, okay. It's like a great little thing that, with that character, because he's kind of a vulnerable character, nervous a bit, being a terrier, but also a little scared of the world. It's this little element that you can kind of throw in just to have a greater understanding of who this character is and how he views the world. And we all know people who have a nervous laugh. That's how they handle it. a lot of it is not even just the lines and the words. There's also efforts, like a sigh of exasperation, or, even things as simple as like panting while you're running, so we have to get every piece so it becomes this kind of fully realized vocal performance that we can then animate to. And whenever it has a naturalism to it, that's of course what the animators love, and what helps make a character believable. I mean, every character are great, but it's just like what's make the richness of it is the group of those characters, and that's really part of what the movie is. I really like Snowball, because he's a really fun character, and he's really interactive, and but I think definitely Snowball, even if I think Snowball is nothing without the others. Snowball is a kind of a true believer. He's this kind of character who's just like a bit daredevil. He's just like going straight when you've got an idea, and then he's gonna think later. And sometimes he's thinking a little bit too late, and then he just starts to take conscience of the danger. But the good thing about Snowball is he's a big dreamer. And he really likes to project himself into some things that make him even better. And I think that's why, it makes Snowball a rich character. Is because he's thinking so far forward that he can project himself into something he's not really, but it's just giving him the courage and the strength to move forward. Definitely Rooster is a kind of quite strange. He's there, and just like his presence is enough to just get this kind of quiet place. He's really impressive. And I think like Harrison is really giving that tone, because he's got a really deep voice, really strong and really calm voice. But every time he's just like raising it a little bit, everybody's just like quiet. And I think that's making a really strong character into this kind of really peaceful environment.
The journey of the film really is Max's journey from initially being bewildered by this infant to being somewhat terrorized by this young child, to then realizing that this child just adores him. And there's this unconditional love that Max returns to this kid. But in doing that, he becomes almost like an overprotective parent. And he dotes on this little guy, and he begins to believe that his mission in life is to keep him safe and keep him protected. So the journey for Max in this film is really a journey of learning how to let go and let this little guy grow up and gain some independence. Snowball is a character who is completely self-deluded. So if he is feeling fear, he certainly isn't going to admit it. And so he's a character that goes through the film with this tremendous energy, and embodies all of Kevin Hart's phenomenal comedic instincts. The animators just go wild with Kevin's voice track. So you've got that just adorable little bunny with this incredibly energetic comedic voice coming out of its mouth. Max ventures out into the country for a trip to his owner's relative's farm. And on that farm, he meets Rooster, voiced by Harrison Ford, voicing his first animated character ever. And Rooster is exactly who Max needs, because he is the opposite of Max. He is tough, he is wise, and he is not suffering fools. And when Max steps onto his farm, Max is going to leave having grown up and overcome his fear, whether he likes it or not. And so this journey that Max goes on is really that journey that allows Max to overcome the fear that is holding him back.
Hey, it's Lisa now. I hope you liked that video. Do you think it will be a success? Well, do you know what are the top 5 grossing animated movies? Coming in at number 5 is Despicable Me from 2017. Number 4 is Toy Story from 2010. Number 3 is Minions from 2015. Number 2 is Incredibles 2 from 2018. And number 1, which I'm pretty sure you can guess, is Frozen. Now remember to click here below to subscribe or on the side for more great content.